Alien Romulus is out, and is stirring the pot in terms of audience reception. The way I see it, we have three main groups going at each other's throats on the internet. One group claiming that Romulus is a great movie, and the best one since James Cameron's Aliens. One group claiming it's a bad movie, and the final group claiming it's a great movie with a terrible ending. Probably the majority opinion at this point. As a space crew, I obviously have the authority on the final verdict on the movie, and my verdict doesn't seem to align with any of these groups, so here's my hot take on Alien Romulus. The ending is by far the best part of the movie, but not what you would expect. Just to give you a quick scope of where I'm at with the Alien franchise, I'm probably not alone with Alien being my favorite horror movie, and Aliens being my favorite action movie. Now I'm more in the minority of actually liking Alien 3, at least the assembly cut. I have a soft spot for the first Alien vs Predator movie, and there's parts of both Prometheus and Covenant that I adore, and parts that I absolutely hate. I deliberately went into Alien Romulus with no info about the story, no trailers watched and no reviews read. Only the fact that this has a younger cast and a director who has made a very fun horror movie before, and at least one unwatchable hot garbage cash grab excuse of a movie that was just one more dead layer of skin peeled off of the corpse of an iconic film that is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So in my mind it could have gone both ways, surprisingly good, or a cash grab with a popular IP slapped on top of it. So there I was with no expectations but a slither of hope that I'm not about to watch yet another garbage fanfiction based on a legacy franchise that meant a lot to me. Romulus starts out with a group of people extracting the xenomorph who was nuked into space in Alien. Then we are introduced to our protagonist, Rain, who is a worker on a human space colony, and her companion, Andy, a 40 synthetic. She wants to get off the colony, but is denied by the evil corporation she works for, so she teams up with her group of friends who act and talk like a living walking Twitter thread to get to an abandoned space station of some sort, steal the unused cryo chambers, and get away from their prison planet in hopes of a better life. But lo and behold, the space station is abandoned for a reason, and is a host to a bunch of xenomorphs and facehuggers and cheap callbacks trying to revive your burnt out sense of nostalgia. And our group of youngsters try to survive and get the necessary equipment while Andy is re-chipped into being a corporate AI turning evil, and aliens try to hunt them. On the surface, this sounds pretty good actually, but unfortunately the execution is nothing short of abysmal. Luckily, the movie doesn't try to trick you into being good for long. There's a very telling scene right at the beginning. After approximately 15 to 20 minutes of exposition hammering into your head that the colony Rain lives on is awful and she hates it and wants to get away. With every sentence and shot and piece of dialogue. In the midst of internal struggles, Rain sees a worker carrying a bird, trapped in a cage struggling for freedom. After this moving metaphor, armed with the subtlety and depth of Zack Snyder's Jesus shots of Superman, I knew exactly what kind of movie I was getting into. A movie made for idiots. Scenes explained so hard even a mentally challenged blobfish would be able to understand it. Because clearly a bunch of unnecessary exposition wasn't enough. We needed the baby's first, childish symbol to really get the message through. I realize I'm nitpicking a 4-second scene way too much, but man, I've just seen too many movies that treat me like I'm 5 years old. And I was right, the movie is filled with forced exposition throughout. Every scene, conflict, backstory or personal history is painstakingly read into the camera from the script. Ever wonder why this guy was a dick to androids? Here's another character reading out his backstory. Wonder what happened to the creepy derelict space station? Here's Ash from Alien, or sorry, Rook, explaining it all, killing intrigue, mystery and suspense. Did you wonder what literally any of the characters' motivations were at any scene? Fear not, because someone will tell you, like you're the special needs kid in class, and god, it's exhausting, man. And speaking of Rook, what were they thinking? When I first saw that the sliced up android might be modeled off Syrian Holm and his body turned in the shadowy room, I was like, oh, that's actually a nice touch. Not too in your face, just a nice callback to a fan favorite. Nope. The CGI resurrection of Grand Moff Tarkin, Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker was not enough. We need more uncanny valley off-putting bad special effects recreations, because clearly the people loved the above mentioned examples. And the inclusion of Syrian Holm is just one example of a tiresome circus of blatant callbacks, with lines taken from previous movies, repurposed for a very slightly different scene. Lines like, "You have my sympathies." Or,
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
Or,
"Get away from her, you bitch!"
The on-the-nose nature of this is not the only problem. I would be okay with cheesy callbacks if the material was actually creative and good. But there's nothing original about this story. It's just a sliced together Frankenstein's monster with pieces of previous Alien titles stapled on it. That is not nostalgia, my friends. That is what we call a blatant cash grab. We see this more often every year. The studio is out of ideas, so they take a beloved franchise, make an ugly attempt at fitting it into a modern blanket, either with a younger cast or, in worse cases, rage baiting. Fortunately, Romulus is the former example. There's nothing offensively unwatchable about the first few acts, other than arguably Sir Holmes' uncanny head. It's just a slightly annoying cast of Gen Z characters in very well-known knockoff scenarios with aliens. It's yet another blatant cash grab without a hint of originality. Until the third act. Kind of. Before I get to the ending, I don't want to sound like a complete contrarian and pretend there is nothing of value in this movie. There is. The visuals. As a space nerd and science fiction fan, some of the scenes were just gloriously done. The spaceships, the planets, the interiors, the set design, the model work, all spectacles. Clearly the visual effects team used a lot of practical effects for the ships and xenomorphs, which was a refreshing sight, especially these days with CGI and, well, bad CGI being more and more prominent even in big budget movies. Where the movie stumbles again is the horror department. The majority of the intended scary scenes are the cliched cheap jump scares. And I don't mind a good jump scare, but what can absolutely kill a good jump scare is overdoing it. And Romulus has very few tools of scaring you at his disposal, other than the classic loud noise or crash sound, coupled with a character appearing behind the door, or, well, basically anything happening. It's so frequent that I was quickly desensitized to it, which made the whole movie not scary at all to me. If you are interested in this subject, I have a whole video about what makes a good scare, with a list of some of my favorite scares in movies. Just click this link and watch it after this one. But to summarize, at the point of the end of Act 2, I was disappointed to say the least. I was bored, I wasn't scared, just waiting for the movie to end. And boy, it ended. One of the characters is pregnant, so of course when this was revealed I was already kind of anticipating some messed up alien baby at the finale, but nothing could have prepared me for the final product. You see, not only the classic Alien movies were used for inspiration, but Prometheus and Covenant as well. Pregnant girl juices herself up with alien goo, which is supposed to make her an ultimate specimen, but it's all sucked up by her baby, who is born to reenact the final scenes of the original Alien, almost frame by frame. But instead of a xenomorph, we get Slender Man. Out of all the things they could have copied, they decided to go with Alien Resurrection, by far the worst of the franchise, and create another alien-human hybrid. But the result is just so laughable, I can't really put it into words. I was laughing my ass off trying to restrain myself at the cinema. It was so goofy and badly done. The only thing I can compare it to is X-Men Origins Wolverine's Deadpool. The resemblance is there for sure, and the design is a mix of Wish.com Deadpool, Slenderman and Prometheus' creators. Origins Wolverine, especially thanks to the ending, has now reached guilty pleasure status. It's one of the unintentionally funniest bad movies, and Alien Romulus' ending is just so over the top it elevates it to the same level. Now I apologize if you were actually expecting me to defend the ending, but I'm actually kind of serious. Without the ending, if the movie's final scene was Rain and Andy and pregnant girl getting on a shuttle and escaping, I would have hated my life coming out of the cinema. It would merely have been a blatant cash grab, with nothing memorable to give, some okay scenes, rehashed scenes from different movies, just another soft reboot of a great franchise in hopes of more profit. While the movie is exactly that, I didn't come out of the cinema depressed, ready to put on the original Alien in hopes of reminiscing about a time when I wasn't even alive yet. I came out of the cinema smiling, still laughing, and feeling like I witnessed something so bad it's actually kind of fun. I'm baffled that anyone would think that this is a good movie, let alone a good Alien movie, as in my opinion it has very little quality to offer, and even that has been done before. The script is awful, the dialogue is full of forced exposition, the scares aren't scary after like 5 of the same jump shots, the characters aren't memorable, and the ending rivals the first live-action Deadpool. I guess if you are just looking for a mindless film that places some expendable, cannon fodder characters in scenes with xenomorphs, or if you don't care about any of that, you just want to see some aliens and facehuggers that are excellently shot, I guess I could recommend this movie. Otherwise, out of the solar system I would rate it a Pluto. Trying really hard to be something, failing, but at least the subject of entertaining ridicule. If you enjoyed my review, please consider helping me reach 500 subscribers for much more reviews, deep dives, subscriber polls, and all things movies. Also, check out my video on actually good scares in horror movies, or any of my other videos, which you should be seeing on your screen right now, recommended to you, and see you soon.